room. Turn your around, give them a high five and say it's Gene time.
Gene time.
All right, guys. So we're gonna get started here, guys. So guys, we're really honored to have two special guests today, guys. One is Gene Van Dieman is been with the company for over 23 years. He's been in the field. He's been a district manager. He's been administrator, and now he's the manager of national administration right across the board. So I mean, see, he knows it all about combined, but he's also the forward progress of where we're going in the company. He thinks how District 6 thinks. He talks about where we're going. He's actually one of the major innovators of Power BI, which will be coming out to agents shortly here, where you can actually, actually track all your clients, where they're going, all that kind of stuff. Innovating things where you're actually gonna have push notifications when something goes down, whether it's just somebody makes a bank account. He's leading the charge to make sure that it'll pop right up on your thing so you know exactly to call the person to get it back. The way the company is going is a lot been from what Mike, Gene, and a bunch of others are really forward progressing into the company and where we're going to bring us into the 20th century. And then even though they're in the 19th century, maybe 3 years ago, 1900s or something like that. But honestly, guys, this is an amazing thing. When we first started out, honestly, we had no contact with anybody. And then out of nowhere, he comes in the room and he's like, oh, the administrator's coming. I'm like, sweet. Right, this is what we want, right? And the next thing you know, he blew my mind because the way he talks and he's passionate about this company and where it's going, and he's passionate about the way that we're doing it, guys. So let's give Gene a huge round of applause and bring him up to the slide. Awesome, Gene.
Well, thank you very much, Mark. I feel very honored to be here today. I haven't actually been in a D6 office for 5 years?
Yeah.
When you started.
No,
However long ago you've been around.
3.5 years, yeah.
So 3.5 years ago, they were there for about a week. And then I came by, and so I haven't been in an office since then. So I think that's really exciting. I want to maybe just share a little bit about my story. I started in Edmonton. I started my career in 1996. And I had no idea what I was getting involved in. And I thought everything was strange, everything was different. I didn't really understand anything. But the company trained me, the company gave me systems, and through those systems I was able to progress and find a measure of success in our company. So as an agent, I was an agent for about a year and a half. You know, I wrote records and everything like that. The thing that I was very most proud of was after about 6 months, I was able to regularly sell a new person every day that I went to work. And that was a goal of mine. And it was a goal that started back then, and I continued it on throughout my entire career. I said, if I'm going to go to work today, I'm going to sell somebody something. And so that was a goal. I sold 65 new people in 13 weeks was the goal. I actually sold 68, but I sold one person something every day for 13 straight weeks. And, you know, Swanston talked about momentum, and that just created momentum for me. And that changed the way I looked at this company. Because when you have that much interaction with people, you find that what we do really makes a difference in people's lives. After that, I became a sales leader. And there's something that I learned about the way we do our business in training other people that I never really noticed when I was doing it. Because when I was doing it, I read the 5 sales manuals. I made sure I understood them. And I went out and just did it. But when you train other people, you have to start to look at the philosophy of the company. You have to start to look at what are the procedures, the techniques, the best practices, because everybody learns differently. I'm sure there looks like, I don't know, 20, 25 people in this room. I'm sure you all learn differently. And so one of the things that I found that was common in just about everybody that I field trained was people don't say, take yes for an answer. They want to hear yes several times before they actually start writing a policy. Now, of course, when I wrote a policy, it was on paper, right? But now we use tablets. But back then, it was People wanted to hear yes several times before they made a presentation, before they write a policy. And so one of the things that I started to deliberately train on my people, and it made an effective difference in my team, was having people look for buying signals, understanding them. And when someone said yes, yes was good enough. Amazingly enough. And if you train a lot of people, you'll eventually notice this. And if you keep notes on yourself where you kind of just rehash in your mind what went right, what went wrong, what could I do better, I think you'll discover that this is one of the biggest things that if you just, you know, that person said yes, I kept talking and then it became, can you come back? That person said yes, I kept talking and then it was a no. So if you find that a lot of people are asking you, can you come back? Chances are they said yes and you turned it into a maybe. And if a lot of people are telling you, you know what, this sounds good, but I'm not really sure, chances are they said yes and you created doubt by continuing to talk. So I've discovered, I've had people say yes after the first minute that I started my presentation, and I've had people said yes halfway in. I've heard people say yes when I'm done. Whenever they say yes, I start writing. The quickest time it ever happened for me is I knocked on a door. This guy answered. He said, "You're from Combined, aren't you?" I said, "How do you know?" "You guys were at my place of employment 6 months ago. I wasn't there. I was on a day off and I couldn't sign up." I said, "Okay, let's do it now." And so you always have to be prepared to write. And so that's something that I learned as an SL that I kind of knew as an agent, but didn't really know until I saw so many people just making that same mistake over and over and over again. Then I became a DL, and now things are different. You don't just have your little team, you have a whole bunch of little teams. and now you have to start to think about culture. And this is something that I've noticed about Mark Andrews, not necessarily personally, but people have told me. And I've heard so many stories, and I've talked to some of your people, and they talk to me about culture. And I talked to some of the other larger teams in our company, like Derek, like Perry, and these people talk about culture. And one of the things I learned when I was a district leader about culture is it's something that you have to create. It's intentional, because either I can create the culture for my district, for my team, or the team is going to create a culture that might not necessarily be what I want to create. And so if you're just an agent and you're saying, I don't have a team, what do I care about culture? There's culture in your mind. And the founder of our company wrote a book called Success System That Never Fails. And culture was big, huge for him. He talked about our PMA philosophy. I think that's the most powerful philosophy that our company has. In fact, we believe it accounts for 70% of our success, 20% know-how, 10% activity knowledge. Yet we spend so much time in activity knowledge and know-how. We don't recognize the importance of your attitude, about culture, about how a winning attitude can create winning results. And so you really have to ask yourself, what did you do this morning to create that right mindset for yourself? When I started, I recognized the importance as a DL that I had to create this culture. It had to come from me, because as the leader of my organization, people looked to me to see what kind of mindset I had, and then they absorbed that. So in the morning, I stopped watching the news. News is very negative. It just puts you in a negative frame of mind. I started to read inspirational material. For me, that was the Bible. For you, maybe Chicken Soup for the Soul. Maybe some inspirational book. There's lots of people out there. Maybe you want to get onto Google and watch one of those inspirational YouTube videos. just something to put you in the right mindset for the day. And then as I drove to my office to get people going for the day, I always made sure that I chose the right track to listen to. You know, you can listen to My Wife Ran Off with Postman, and maybe that's not going to be so thrilling for you to go through the day. Or you can listen to, you know, peppy music, things that get you excited. You want to get going for the day. You cannot regularly sell in this business with a negative mindset. You have to program your mind. And you can program your mind just like you program a computer, just like you do anything. It's something that's totally up to you and completely in your control. And then you have to create a positive mental environment in your team as well. I noticed you guys talked about gratitude. And you talk about what you're thankful for. And to me, that's huge. What I used to do was, Mike, we know that every meeting starts with good news, right? And our company wants people with just good news to speak. But I did more like what you guys are doing now. I wanted to create a culture, and that culture had to include everybody, not just the person that had a good week that day or that week. Because you know what, in sales, not every day that you sell, though I did manage to figure out how to do that, I can tell you that it doesn't happen for everybody. And so you need to create a positive mental environment, not just for the winners, but for the people that are struggling, that are wondering, is this the last day I'm here in this company, or what? Because doubt, discouragement, and despair is going to come through that door unless you can push it out with a positive mental environment. So that's very huge. Culture is very important. And so I had my people, if you had good news, give it. But if you needed encouragement, I wanted you to give me a little short inspirational message of something that you read that morning that got you going for the day. Or I wanted you, I didn't call it gratitude, I talked about blessing. It's the same thing. What was the blessing for you that morning that got you up, that made you put on your nice clothes and get ready for the day? So for me, a positive mental environment was great. My mind, my team, but also for my prospects as well, and for my policyholders. And so before I ever made a presentation, and I don't know if you guys do this or not, I'm not totally familiar with how you market your policies, but before I got involved in the actual nuts and bolts of a presentation, I would create a positive mental environment in the mind of my prospect. There were specific questions that I would ask them. There were specific ways that I would direct their mind so that they felt positive, enthusiastic towards me, towards the day, about themselves, so that when I presented something, it made a difference for them. And they were more likely to say yes. And they were more likely to say yes right away. And whenever they said yes, even if they didn't know what they were saying yes to, they bought my product and then I reviewed it afterwards. That's perfectly fine. It's perfectly great. And so I've discovered those things when I was an agent, when I was a sales leader, when I was a district leader. And then everyone thought the company's better off if I wasn't in the field anymore. And so they brought, that's a joke. So I started to work in a staff position. And so now I'm the national administrator, or the manager of national administration. And I look around the country, and now I have a broader view. It's not just me, it's not just my team, it's not just my district. I'm looking at the country as a whole, and I'm looking at those pieces like Danik in Quebec, like Mark Andrews here, and I'm saying, what do those people, what are they doing? What would I do if I was in the company today? Because when I started, my 5 marketing systems was, they worked and they were good. But the marketing system that we never really talked about, that we never really fully explored and developed, are being developed here are being developed in those districts that are producing the most, and that's networking. I built my career on cold calling. I knocked on a door. Why would I network? I was eventually going to come see anyway. That's how I felt. But you know what? I worked harder, not smarter. And eventually, as a district leader, I start to recognize that target marketing and networking work best. And I started to do this with 2 agents, and they did really well. Unfortunately, I never really got a chance to fully explore that because then I wasn't in the field anymore. I was a regional manager, and I did start to do that with my people, but then again, only a couple of years, then they say, no, we want you back in administration. Obviously, the company feels that's where my strengths are, I guess. So, but I did notice, though, that networking is easier. It's natural. It also is the way we normally socialize and think and what we do. And so for me, that would be the way I would do it if I was going to start today. That's really seriously, and I was talking to Mike about that. Well, actually several times over the last few years, I've mentioned that to him. Because if you think about it, our company's big philosophy from day one was start at the center of influence and then work yourself out. That's how we do our business. When I was doing it, the center of influence was a geographical spot. You went to the center of your assignment, you worked that, and then you worked away from that. But I think that something that was always there, but we never really emphasized through referrals, maybe you call it friendship farming, you know, through networking or taproting. There's different names that we use for this, but it's the same philosophy, and that is the center of influence is you. What's the most important person in your life? Her? Okay, well, that's a good answer. But when I look at it out my eyes, the center of my world is me. I can't look outside of somebody else's eyes, not unless you have some brain power that I don't have. And so the center of influence is me. I'm the one that I need to branch out from. And I'm going to branch out through the friends and contacts that I have. And I can deliberately do this. I can go to networking events. I've seen some people go to sporting events. I used to do that. I used to, like, we had this example of a police officer who bought one of our policies. Something very similar happened to me. I signed up a rodeo truck driver. I don't know if you guys ever go to the Calgary Stampede or you ever go to the finals rodeo. You see these chuck wagon racing. Well, I was just driving down the road and I saw this chuck wagon in the driveway. So I pulled in. Surely this guy needs our coverage, right? More than anybody else, because if you've ever gone to the Stampede, one of those things is always falling over, and maybe more than one. And so I went in. The driver wasn't there, but his parents were. And his parents bought policies for him and also for themselves. When you know it, at his next rodeo, he got into an accident. And then I networked through him. It got to the point that when I went to a rodeo event, people knew me by name. I didn't know who they were, but they knew who I was. And it became so easy. I was able to network through that. My father used to be the president of the Foster Association here in Alberta. I networked through that. And so I was doing it, but I was calling it target marketing, and I was calling it referrals. But today I think we can use a more better term, which is networking and working through your social contacts. And if I was doing it today, I would continue to extend into what I had started and do what it seems like Mark Andrews is doing quite well, doing very, very well doing that. And it means that you can attract a different kind of person into this business. If you look at the people that have been with Combine at the same time as me, they all had very similar kind of characteristics. And I went to an IFB convention a couple of weeks ago, and the demographic was even more stark. They were all men over 70, all white men over 70. There was hardly any women there, and there were no minorities at all. And these people saw this as a networking event, you know, but it's not really. There were no young people there, even though our industry is dominated by younger people, because younger people know that it's not at those places that you can network. There's networking places that you can go to. You can start tap rooting your existing policyholders. That's huge. You can start to deliberately put yourself into a position so that everybody you meet, everybody you talk to, is part of your center of influence so that you can extend yourself through others. One of my district leaders, I think he was also a district leader of Mike, this is something that he used to do all the time. If he pulled in for gas, he talked to the attendant. If he went to have breakfast in the morning, he talked to the waitress. In fact, even though the hotel had breakfast, he would go to a breakfast place specifically so that he could network with the people that worked there. And he was usually successful. So all I'm going to say is I feel really great to be here. I should say a little bit about how much time do I have? 5 minutes? I should say a little bit, just a little bit about Power BI and how you can leverage that for yourself. Right now, it's just available for our DLs and our SLs. It's going to be available for our agents soon. I was just talking to Chicago yesterday. Hopefully we can get that rolled out as soon as possible. But in the meantime, something that I think might really help with your quality of business. Even though I was only in the field for 7 years, I had built up a residual of $1,000 a week. And I think that that's something that everybody can do. And it's great now, we have lifetime residuals. After 10 years, you get to keep them forever, unless you're fired. But you know, if you retire, if you retire gracefully, you know, you get them forever. And why not achieve that? But if I was going to talk to you well, there's two things I'd mention about quality business. And being an administrator, I need to talk to you about quality business. The first thing is buyer's remorse. You know, we sell a very intangible product. You can't taste it, you can't feel it, you can't smell it. Most people have never purchased an individual product before. Only 5% of Canadians have ever owned this type of a product from any company, which means that 95% of them haven't. So they have no experience with it. And so these type of products tend to have buyer's remorse. The biggest thing that I can tell you to combat buyer's remorse, I have a wonderful, 30-minute presentation on this. It just boils down to this: say thank you. Call them later on within the week, and the first words out of your mouth, thank you, Diane. And then the last words out of your mouth, thank you, Mark. And whatever you do in between, it matters, but not really. What they're going to remember is that they purchased a product from you, you cared about them to call them up, and you told them thank you. And isn't it a wonder, whenever you take a flight, when you go to a hotel, when you buy a piece of candy at a grocery store, they send you an email wanting to do a little survey or something to say thank you. We need to thank our clients for being our clients, just for being our clients, for no other reason. And when you do this properly, you'll discover that they'll purchase more, They'll give you referrals, networking, and they will also give you recruits, networking. So this thank you is a great way to extend yourself and your business. It's also going to conserve your business. I've discovered that it will improve threefold your retention, no matter where you stand. I did this session with Perry, and his 7-month persistency went up by 10%. That's huge. That's huge. 10%. You know, I'm not going to tell you his income. That had a 6-digit effect on his income this year.
Put that in perspective on lifetime residuals for you. Imagine 10 years from now, your income from what you've done went up by 10%.
Just by saying thank you.
Just by saying that.
And it's going to grow more. Because what he's done, and you know, I mean, I'm not here to tell anybody what to do, just to make recommendations, but he's got thank you cards that he mails out. Here's a person full time to just say thank you. Wow, that's a good job. Thank you. Thank you. It's all very positive. The other thing is, are you aware that underwriting is a decision on most policies that decline have absolutely nothing with the merit of the policy, but it had to do with buyer's remorse? Huge, 50%. And then about 30% is, we sent you a memo and you ignored it. The memo is just additional information. You don't have to go back to that client. Oh, God forbid you would want to see them. But we just want some information that was missing off the application, or some additional information to complete the underwriting process. We can't complete the underwriting process until we get the information. So we asked you for the information, you didn't return it, so we're stalled. Time ticks away, 3 months. Eventually, the 3 months are over. We decline the policy for lack of information. And then the other one is buyer's remorse. It does take us, on average, most policies are issued within 3 weeks. If they're not, we're waiting for information, either from you or the doctor. That's the only reason why. And but most of our policyholders, when they don't hear anything back within that time frame, they call up the company and they cancel. And for some reason, our agents are not in that picture. And so if you called and said thank you, left your information, and then 2 weeks later they're, oh, I didn't get this acceptance letter, what's going on? They won't call the company, they'll call you. You can address the buyer's remorse, and then you know what? And can you imagine, of every 100 policies that are declined, only 20 of them are as a result of an underwriting decision? That means 80 of them we could issue. That doesn't affect your persistency or your cancellation rate or anything else, but it affects your pocketbook. So as an administrator, I do have to talk about quality business. As the manager of National Sales Administration, I need to say that I like what you guys are doing. I think it's great. I think you're the future of Combine. And Combine is doing a lot right now to increase your commissions. The net result of the commissions changes that we made in November 4 is, for some people over the next 10 years are going to make $1 million more. Some a lot more than that. I'm not talking about Mark Andrews. I'm talking about good quality agents in SL. They're going to make significantly more money. How do I know? I ran the numbers, I did the math. And we know that this will put more money in your pocket. Just in the short run, we had that Jubilee program that you mentioned. You know why we're running it again? Because we didn't have enough winners. Mm-hmm. When we put the program together, we had to do a calculation. How many people would win? And we thought all these people would win, and they didn't. And so we're going to run it again. We could have done the program with less people, but that's not how this company rolls. They don't want success for a few, they want success for the many. And so they're going to run this program again. It started at the end of October and it runs through December 28th or something, 22nd, because we want more people there. We want to see more successful people engaging in successful activities, creating success. And you know what's really great in this company is that we want that for everybody. We're not looking for fine print to prevent you from getting something. We're wanting to get as many people to get to where their personal goals and dreams and ambitions are. I never believed when I started with this company that I would be where I am today. I didn't really think that. And, you know, too bad I was thinking small. I want to tell you just a story as I close. Well, I just want to give you this little story. I was moving from Alberta to BC. Grass is always greener on the other side of the province, right? Actually, the reason why is I had a huge territory in Alberta. I didn't want to drive as much. And I was going to the West Kootenays in BC, Castlegar, really nice place. Why wouldn't you want to go there? So and the great thing about the company is they allow you to do this. The last policyholder I visited, let me talk about the second to last. So the second to last policyholder, I go there, it's late at night, and I say I only have one person left to see. They say who it is. I tell them, oh, they just live down the road. I go, yes. And they said, I think you really need to go see her. Oh, okay. I don't know. When people say that to me, immediately, what is it? Claims, I want to cancel, they're upset. Immediately, you know, these things kind of come up in your mind. When I came there the next morning, it's my last call of the week. After that, I was going home. This woman was dressed up in her Sunday best. She had her pearls, her earrings, her hair was just immaculate. She was wearing probably the best dress that she had. She sat down and she said, I want to thank you. Hey, that's my thing. Right? She said, I want to thank you. I said, why? She said, because a year ago when you came, you showed my husband and myself our sickness policy. And, you know, you didn't come back 6 months later, but 6 months later, my husband got sick with cancer. And then a few months later, my son got sick with cancer. They both died within days of each other. And because my husband died first, and my son was the sole beneficiary, all the bank accounts were frozen. And the only money that came in was the money that came from the policy that you sold us. I remember when you left the house, I asked my husband, why did you buy that policy? Because we've been policyholders for years, but you've never bought a sickness product. And he said, that man just seemed like we needed it. And so I bought it. They did need it. And that was the only money that she had. Friends and neighbors helped to bring in the crop, but it was the proceeds from our policies that enabled her to buy seed so she could plant for the next year. I don't know how farming works, but that seems like a big deal to me. She said, because of that, I was able to keep the farm, I was able to keep my house, and I was able to at least move on with my life. It was a very sad moment for me, but it was also, in a way, a moment that justified what I did. We really make a difference. We make a difference when things happen to people, unexpectedly, unplanned. And when that moment comes, I want them to know that I did my absolute best to ensure that they had the right product for the circumstance that happened to them, and that the last thing you want to worry about is money. But if you have money problems, that's all you worry about. She had money problems, but we were there to enable her to move on with her life. She thanked me. I've never talked to her since, but she thanked me. I didn't thank her. But you know what? She made a difference in my life. It was after that that I had my biggest sales, because I had that renewed positive mental energy in my mind to enable me to do an even better job than what I'd done before. Anyway, thank you very much.
Great job. Let's give another huge round of applause, guys. That was amazing. So many nuggets there, so many nuggets. But guys, we'll get to that, the R2E2 at the very end here. So again, Gene, such a pleasure to have you here and to have your perspective of what you're doing. And I think there's a lot of cool things about saying yes. Just a little light bulb goes off in a lot of people's heads in the room, right? So great job with that, guys. We're going to bring up Mike here. He's just going to, do a quick 5 minutes about what we're doing, how we're doing, talk a little bit more about the trips here, guys. So let's give Mike, our senior regional manager, Greco, a round of applause.
Good morning, D6. How you feeling? How you doing?
Yay.
I love it. I love it. Well, first of all, I want to again thank Gene for taking the time to come out here. Let's give another round of applause to Gene. Gene and I actually worked together for many, many years, and I mean, you can see why he's a valuable member of the team. I mean, from a sales and administrative point of view, he genuinely cares about people, and he's just a wealth of knowledge. So again, thank you for taking the time with national admin responsibilities to come out and share with us. That's really, we're grateful for that. I want to thank you. And Teresa was talking about it when she came up. I had issued a challenge, and I'd asked for your support. I'd asked for your help, and I'd said, we're looking for 2 back-to-back weeks to see what we can do to be able to pull something off that will really kind of change the course and direction as to where we want to go and how we want to finish the year. And I know usually, we call on a week. We say, hey, can you guys pull this off this week? We're going to aim for this week. And I kind of issued a challenge saying, not only do I want 1 week, but I'm asking you for 2. It's kind of like, you're getting greedy, Greg. I get it. But I was looking at it saying we build momentum, right? And Dan was talking about it. Momentum breeds momentum. And I'm looking at it saying, okay, if we can come in with a plan of attack, and we hit that week of the 28th, that standard of excellence week, with a lot of energy and excitement, that will create more follow-up, more opportunity. So realistically, that can set us up to do something like this, 2 back-to-back weeks, and see what we can really do to beat our best, and then come back and take it even further and see what we're capable of doing, and find out what that potential is within us and channel it and see what can happen. And I have to say, guys, I am so proud. So just like, a parent with their kids and they're, watching them walk for the first time. So proud of what you guys did, because 56,000, as Mark said, come back then with 75,000. Regionally, we did 80,000 and came back with almost 100,000 in the last 2 weeks. And guys, again, that's all based on your effort, rising to the challenge, doing it as a team, collaborating together, unifying. And that's where synergy becomes one of those things that makes a difference. And that's where the team starts to look at that plan, that objective, and says, okay, we're going to do this for each other. We're going to try to play at our best. And when synergy happens, you'll find that each individual ends up achieving more than they would have if they just set their own goal, their own sight on something. And that's what happened over the last 2 weeks. So please give yourselves a round of applause. I'm so proud of you guys. Thank you so much for what you guys did. Now the key is, where do we go from here? Right? We knew that momentum will breed momentum, and where we can go and what we can do. So here's what's interesting. You'll recall, I can't remember which session it was, but I was talking about being number 1, right? And there's something to be said about saying, I want to be number 1. Will you be number 1? But I phrased it a little bit differently. Do you remember I asked the question and said, why don't you want to be number 1? And here's the thing. Last week, what were you? Number 1. So what's interesting is when you set your eye on a prize and all of a sudden you work together, you can pull off amazing things. Now, the interesting thing is when somebody's a champion, they then have to defend that title. So this is where we start to sit back and we start to identify, do we take pride in our organization, what we're accomplishing? Mark said it. Guy Sauvé, our Senior Vice President, Managing Director of Canada, Tony Mercanti, Vince Iozzo, our CFO, our CAO, right? CFO, CAO. They're coming out to see what you're doing. So you're number 1 now. And the question is, what are you going to do with that opportunity? Is that opportunity going to turn into something that allows you to grow, to become an influencer, to become something that the organization, a group that they come to and say, okay, what direction should we move now? You know, you guys have been doing some phenomenal things over the next little while. And we've said they're taking notice. Well, not only are they taking notice, they're coming out. So the question is, what do we want to do about that? Do we want to take that opportunity and say, yeah, we're number one, and we're going to continue to show you why our model works, why what we're doing makes sense, to be able to be at a larger scale an influencer for the entire Canadian operation in the direction that we go? This is our opportunity to do something special, to be able to put our mark on to put our mark on the insurance industry. Cheesy, right? I know, right? You want some crackers? Anyway, but to put our mark on the industry, on our company, to talk about legacy, to talk about growth. You know, when we think about these books, and Gene was talking about it, W. Clement Stone, Successes and It Never Fails. There is obviously a rich history about combined insurance. When you think about a company that's been around since 1922, well, 2019 and forward, you're writing this story. You're writing the chapters that are to come. What's going to occur? Where we're going to go? What's going to happen? You know, what type of blow up in the industry we create, how this bubble pops, and all of a sudden, you know, we're sitting around looking at how we've taken this industry by storm and done something special. This is our chance, our opportunity. What are we going to do with it? Now, the company, as you know, wants to reward you for your efforts. Look at all the programs that are on the go, guys. You got the Jubilee, October 21st to December 16th, an opportunity to capitalize on it. And here's what I find is interesting. Sometimes, you know, we get halfway through a program and maybe we aren't quite where we need to be. And what do we say? Oh, I guess it's just not going to happen. Last week, congratulations to Paige and Susie. What did they do in a week? $26,000 in new face APV, qualified for the Jubilee in 1 week. Yet we're halfway through a program and we say what? Never going to happen. Perspective. What you tell yourself is what? The truth, is the facts. So again, how are you conditioning this process? What's going to happen? Are you out of the game? No. Are we going to take those spots? That's your opportunity again to be able to celebrate, do something special, take advantage of what the company's putting on the table. The trip, no limits. 40 new spots. 40. Now here's what I'd like to do, and I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm selfish for us, but I'd like to be able to email Steve Watton, our VP of Marketing, and say, you shouldn't have pushed the program out, you should have just told us the 40 spots are ours. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah.
I don't know, that gets me excited. All 40 spots, we get an entire plane to ourselves between the regular program and the winners that come in. I think that would be amazing. Again, though, that's about us taking ownership of what we have on the table and being able to make sure that we capitalize on it. 40 more opportunities for us to be able to go out there to Mexico, have fun, celebrate, get recognized, have a lot of fun, but again, continue to influence the direction of where we go. Because spotlights like that give you the opportunity, the forum, the stage to be able to do these kinds of things. This is our opportunity. The recruiting programs. Guys, we want to share our mission with people. We want to talk to them about being a part of this team. That doesn't mean we take everybody. We're looking for partners. We're looking for people that have values that we share. We're looking for people that have a vision of what the future can look like. We want individuals to be a part of this mission that see value in making a difference, saving lives, adding value, all these things. But the key is we need to find these people. And with your support, we find them quicker. Isn't that true? But here's the thing. The company wants to throw money at you to do that. $500 for your first, $750 for your second, $1,000 or more for your third. What are we waiting for? What's the conversation? Hey, Keith, I don't know, out of curiosity, you love what you're doing? Can you see yourself doing it forever? You know, you seem like the kind of person that fits into our culture. I'd love to introduce you to Mark Andrews. I'd love to introduce you to Mary Morena. I'd love to have you come out to an event that we're running, an office, a training that we're holding. Get them in. Have a conversation. Again, we don't take everybody. We're looking for partners, but it's about exposure because here's the thing. Even if it's not the right fit, you've now introduced someone to Gene's point, culture, to our product, to our environment. So just because it didn't work out and it wasn't the right business fit, but is that a lost opportunity? No, because now you have somebody that's out there that's educated about what we're doing, where we're going, and what we're all about. And who do they know? Other people that need to learn about our mission. Guys, networking 101 is a matter of taking advantage of everything that we have and putting it in front of people to share it. Because if we're not sharing, well, we're not growing. And if we're not growing, we're dying. Isn't that the truth? So guys, we want to think about this from a perspective of identifying what we can do, where we can go, and how things are going to happen. Here's what I know. Market share is an interesting thing. You heard Mark talk about it. 35,000 clients approximately in Alberta, let's say. There's a stat, I don't know how true it is, and please don't quote me on it, but I've heard that if you get 3% of the market share, you start to become a household name. So there's 1.2 million in Calgary, about 1 million in Edmonton, just those two hubs alone, we're talking 2.4 million people. So what, 2.5, let's call it, what is that number? How many clients do you need to have? Well, you need to have about what? Gene, you're an administrator, run the math. what's 3% of 2.5 million people? 75,000? 75,000 clients. Now here's the question. Do we become a household name next year? 5 years? 10 years? When is it going to be? And the answer is up to you. Because if we can find individuals that want to be a part of our mission, we have more people talking about our brand. More people talking about our brand, including you going out and talking about our brand, means more exposure to the general public. More exposure to the general public means our brand gets closer to becoming a household name. The faster we get to that 75,000, the sooner your life gets easier. Why? Because when you walk into a place and you have 75,000 clients, we run the math. You do Claims Corner every week. Are you talking about your clients that are claiming on a weekly basis? Yes. So if we have 75,000 of these people, are more of them claiming on a regular basis? Yes. Which means that you walk into a place of business, you get into a networking event, you end up having a conversation with somebody, and they say, what do you do? I represent Combined Insurance. Oh, you're the company that puts money in people's pockets when they need it the most. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't your life become a lot easier with a conversation of that magnitude? But here's the thing. Is it going to happen in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? It's on you. This is our mission, guys. To see what can we do with the time that we have? How do we get out there? How do we scratch that surface? How do we dig down deep? How do we build on the momentum we have and make our lives easier for the future? To be millionaires in the future, to take advantage of what the companies put on the table and say, yep, we want to be rewarded, but we're doing it together. We're a team, we're unifying. In Vegas, for those of you that were there, you'll remember I talked about pride. Let me remind you in my mind what pride means. The P is about passion. You got to be passionate about what we do. Passion is contagious. Here's one of the things I found. Maybe you haven't paid attention to it enough in the past, but whenever you talk to somebody that's succeeded or done something, when they get up, do they sit back and like, yeah, so last week I had 10,000 people. Is that how they talk? They're pretty what? Excited. Now, would you say that that's a form of passion?
Yep.
So why is it that successful people are passionate? Do you think there's a correlation there? They're passionate about what they do. They want to share it with others, and then other people get passionate about it as well. So now all of a sudden, you create that culture that we're talking about that makes sense for somebody to want to learn more, curiosity, all of that. Pride starts with passion. The R, responsibility. Again, our growth stems from what we do. So who is responsible? Us. But here's the thing, you're not alone. Each individual is responsible, but when we work together as a team and we take on that responsibility, now the team is responsible. And when the team's responsible, you're not alone. You're not by yourself. We have each other's back. The I, Gene was talking about it, inspiration. Reading through self-help material, finding your why every single day, to get up with a purpose to get it done. If you don't wake up with a why, you have no reason to live that day. Whatever happens, happens. It's true, isn't it? Don't you find you're just like, what, did I waste 2 hours doing absolutely nothing? Oh my God, it's 3 o'clock. That happens because you have no what? Why? You have to find that inspiration. What's in it for you? Why are you excited? Why are you going to tell your face you're excited? Why are you going to get dressed up nice and go out and share your mission? The D, discipline. Because discipline is going to be the thing that you need to have to get through the ups and the downs and the challenges that will, and I repeat, will show up. Believe in whatever you want to believe, a higher power, the universe, whatever you want to call it. The world will challenge you. Why? Because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Then you wouldn't have an opportunity. So the world, a higher power, whatever you want to call it, is going to say, Mary, how bad do you want it? Ha ha ha, let's throw this at you this week. The key in that process is that you learn more about yourself in times of difficulty than you ever will in times of greatness. Because that is when you find out what you're made of, what you're capable of, where you're actually proud. Even if it was something small, have you ever noticed that you had like a million things to do and they were like little small things that you were running around taking care of, and you got them all done and you're like, man, I feel like I did a lot today. Even if it was a small, mediocre, meaningless things, but you got them all done, and how'd you feel? Great. discipline, to not lose focus of what's important. Urgent versus important happens all the time. Excuse the expression, crap happens. But what you got to do is identify that what the crap is shouldn't weigh down the important of where you want to be, the direction that you have, the goals that you've set, and obviously the journey that you're on. Last E, and E stands for execution. It means that you take your commitment seriously and you go out there with the attitude to say, you know what, I am worthy, I am deserving, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to execute at my top priority. I'm going to commit and I'm going to see it through. And when I do, I know that it will work out. Why? Because the founder of our company, W. Clement Stone, said, we have a success system that never fails. If you engage in the right activities, the system will reward you. If it doesn't reward you right away, the trick is to be around so that it can pay you back. And the problem is most people quit before they get paid back. That's the key. You know that old slogan, most people quit when they're 99% there. There's that 1% left that they got to push. That's sometimes what you got to do. Challenge yourself to execute, see it through, plan, organize, and hit that execution button. Guys, I am so proud of all of you. The key is, are you proud of yourself and what the team is doing and where we can go? This is our opportunity. This is our chance. As a region, just so you know, we are currently exceeding plan. Why am I sharing this with you? We had a plan. We had a meeting, as you know, Gene, in September in Toronto, where we had to set a plan with senior leadership. As a region, we finished Q3 24,000 ahead of plan. And then coming into last week, we were 17,000 short of our Q4 plan. Now, we ended up 25,000 above plan last week. So now we're net 33 on the year. Why am I sharing this with you? Because going back to the story and how it will be written moving forward. Who do you think has more influence? Lifters or people that are potentially, excuse the expression, dying? Lifters. And where are we right now? Lifting. This week as it stands, our region is #1 in Canada. Right now, as of this morning, we are #1 in Canada. Now, if we stay #1 in Canada, that is determined on what we do from today through Sunday. And then next week, and the following week. How we finish 2019 is how we start 2020. So what do you want the story to look like for you next year? What do you want the chapter of the next following years to look like about Combined Story? This is it. This is our opportunity, guys. Let's finish the year strong. Let's build on momentum. Thank you for what you've done, but the journey's not over. Let's just continue to see all the wonderful sights and experience it together. So I'm proud to be a part of this team. So privileged to be a part of this team. And I'm excited about the next chapter that we have. Thank you for all that you do. Back to
Woo, let's give Mike a huge round of applause. All right, guys, so we're just going to go quickly to the video. It's a quick 3-minute video. It's just going to touch base on exactly what Mike's talking about. It's having the courage. It's actually speaking to, it's TD Banks talking about speaking to a whole conference of women. So I think that actually has effect to the Calgary office because they are dominating this room. Guys, we're going to have the most guys ever in this room. So guys, we're just going to push play on this video here. So it's in the group. So push play in the group, push play in Victoria and Edmonton. We'll come back in about 3 minutes, do a quick hard. Start finishing up, guys. We'll start coming back to the room. Start coming back to the room and turn your neighbor, give him a high five and say, thank you for the R2A2.
Thank you.
That's a little Gene special there. High fives are. Let's get them going here. All right, guys. So we're just going to finish up, guys. Usually we get a couple of shares from different places, but we'll just go. We're just going to wrap this things up here, guys. We've got such an action-packed day. Get out to the field, get you out there doing all that we're going to do the best, guys. Honestly, give yourselves a huge round of applause right across the board. Great starters. Great job, Calgary. Over 20-some people in this room. It's amazing. Probably the same thing in Edmonton. It's lovely to see where we're going, what we're doing here. So fantastic with that, guys. First things first, Anne-Marie for her share on the Claims Corner. Great job, Anne-Marie. Fantastic. Again, just a little bit more to the arsenal. Next there, Teresa talking about, taking the challenge and moving forward with it. And she probably heard it again today, taking the challenge and making this company in our footsteps. So let's give Teresa a huge round of applause today. And then next here we have Dan talking about momentum, guys. He started out in this business. He knows the momentum. He knows what the seasons do and everything like that. And it's something like when we talked about this, the Success Laboratory, that's what you're hearing. You're observing what the top people are doing, what they're doing, and building momentum. They're constantly just going out there and just doing it every single day. And that's what's going to get you ahead. So let's give Dan a huge round of applause. Fantastic with that. And then Gene, the man, I mean, there was so many nuggets. Biggest thing, guys, honestly, it's so funny to hear all the things that he's saying. He sits down, he gets to know him, he asks them questions. What do? We have the 4-step process. We have all these types of things that he's talking about doing. He doesn't even know what we do, kind of, but he's talking about that's what he would do. And he's been in the field and all the kind of stuff like that. Talking about the yes, right? We talk ourselves out of it, right? It's kind of a crazy thing because we're almost waiting for them to take the thing and start dialing in. That's what we're kind of doing. Like, I'll give you all the information. You just fill it out. No, we can't do that. We got to actually fill it out. As soon as they say yes, you put it in the shopping cart and move on and get to a couple more things, right? So, guys, again, what we're doing is amazing. And Gene just talking about no fear. You see what he's talking about, target marketing? He just goes right to the person. That person looks like they're hurt. I'm going to go talk to them, see how they got hurt, right? That's what we can do in insurance for the first time ever in history. So there's nothing that can stop us. The only person stopping us is here. So let's give Gene a huge round of applause. That's amazing. And another one for all that he does for this company, continue to move it forward. Thank you so much, Gene. Honestly, there's some cool things that are coming out in this video. And Mr. Mike Greco, what a phenomenal job here today, guys. Again, leading the charge in the company, but he understands if we really push for the end of this year, he, got us extra trip spots. He got us a lot of types of things for us to go to the next level, but now we got to go take them. Imagine we actually get 20, 30 of those spots. And there's no reason behind it because some of those spots are just get up to 20,000 and you can easily get there. So you can win 2 trips, plus a lot of fun throughout Christmas time, plus our celebration, plus all these things. Guys, I don't know where else it can come from. I don't know what else you think an opportunity looks like, right? I don't know, right? Because I've never, this is like just, right across the face. But it's only up to us. Because I don't know what else they can do. They'll throw something at us next year, trust me, but it's up to us. Because the only thing that will change from this year to last year is if you change. And that's it. 2020 will be the exact same thing as 2019 unless you do it now. You can't do it next year. You have to do it from here to the end of the year. So cancel your useless things. Honestly, push it this year. Start doing things that you probably wouldn't go do. Start changing things because in this weak down, mediocre world, most watered down mediocre world, they're looking for leaders. They're looking for champions to go out there and do this. This is not for everybody, but everybody in this room got into this thing for a reason because you want something. Not the first person. I'm talking about the person behind that knows they can go out there and change this industry, change this game, guys. We're a part of something so great. So let's give Mike a huge round of applause. On top of that, guys, I heard from Mary that Jester says that D6 is the sleeping giant that's going to change this company, but we're awoke. We're coming. And this is our time to go change this industry, make this a household name, as Mike says. It's only up to us, guys. We're going to change this whole industry and what this game is. Because we're District 6 and?
We got this.
District 6 and?
We got this.
District 6 and?
We got this.
Turn in here, we give him a high five. See, we got this. Great job.